without further ado, let's get down to business to defeat the straps. Hello, lovely people. I just nicked that off Jessica out of the closet, nobody judge me. I did a poll on my stories a few days ago because I just did a little bit about mending this blouse. Ta-da! And I said, do people want more sewing and slow fashion content? Do you just want outfit pics and rants about disability? And you guys overwhelmingly said more sewing. So here we are. I am going to finish sewing a pair of dungarees that I have been doing for the last month. So, design phase. I didn't originally plan on filming this project, so there isn't any footage of me pattern cutting, but it was just me grubbing around on the floor anyway, so it wasn't that interesting. I took a favourite pair of dungarees and laid them out on newspaper, which I'd taped together because I'm not fancy enough for pattern paper, and I laid the fabric on the floor of the conservatory, put the newspaper pattern on the fabric, and cut out the shapes with pinking shears so that the raw edges of the fabric wouldn't fray. So without further ado, let's get on to the sewing. So what I've got already is I have both legs and the bib. So because this is vintage fabric that I got second hand from the BigC in Wyndham, I have had to do a little bit of pattern piecing. So let's see if I can find an example. There we go. So as you can see, I've sewn these two strips together, so I have the straps long enough, and without further ado, let's get down to business to defeat the straps. I have made the straps now. I need to go and iron them. As you can see, it's just pinned to my top here. It's a little bit tight here, but that fit issue will be negated as soon as the straps and stuff are sewn on. So here I was just hemming the trousers, getting the bottom hem there for the leg so that I could get a little hidden stitch so you couldn't see where the hem was. Tea break! Can't even dress myself in the mornings, clearly. There we go. Hello, so as you can see, I am wearing my dungarees and the fit issue has been fine now the straps are on, which is what I hoped would happen. So I've done a little poll on Instagram. Do I do regular pockets or do I do heart pockets? I don't know, you guys are going to tell me, so I'm going to go find out what the result was, and then I'm going to draft some pockets. Okay, so heart pockets it is. I just need to work out how I'm going to draft these. I know that if my hand / my phone doesn't fit in it, the pocket is basically useless. The problem is, because this is vintage fabric and because it's second hand, this is how much fabric I have left. The scientific term is dick all. So I'm going to have to piece this fabric together as best I can, but that's fine because I don't have enough to do the pockets lined in the same material, but I have some leftover strip cotton, which is what I've backed this with here, and it gives a very nice sort of amount of rigidity to this front panel. You know, my mum was saying that she said I think it would look better with it slightly wider, but because I was working with a very limited amount of fabric, I did have to work with what I'd got, which are good. They fit, they don't give me a wedgie, and they're the right length, so frankly I think that's about all I could ask for, really. In my infinite wisdom, I thought to myself, oh, I'm going to stand in front of the curiosity cabinet to get a good photo, but I'm the same colour as the bloody wallpaper, aren't I? Maybe not. So something that's always worth thinking about when you draft pockets is, especially if you're doing a lining, you see how the fabric stretches this way, but if I draft my piece here, there's basically no stretch unless I really try. So you see I accidentally drafted my first heart on the wrong piece, and I have just turned it over, and this is a much stronger way, and that will make sure that my fabric doesn't gape. Because I'm piecing this, I'm not going to have the luxury of choosing which way the warp and the weft of the fabric go. But I've also got some iron-on interfacing, which is single-sided. So what I'm going to do is, when I have my fabric pieced together and cut out, I am going to basically put it on here and iron it, so that this will add a layer of rigidity which I would not otherwise have in this piece here. So if you find that you're working with a very limited amount of fabric, especially with lockdown where we can't just go buy more, or like me with vintage fabric where this is all I'm ever going to be able to find, because I can't make sure it's all cut the strongest way. So obviously I haven't sewn this together, but this will be effectively what it will look like. I'll iron these down and then I'll cut round it with pinking shears. And because no outfit in these times of plague and pestilence is ever complete without a matching face mask, I am also going to piece together this last teeny tiny piece of fabric that I'll have left over once I've done the pocket, so I better not make any frickin' mistakes. And so I'll need 2 pieces of that, and then I will back it with a stiffer cotton. And I will finally have used up all of my precious fabric, so well, hey. I really enjoyed making these dungarees, and I wore them pretty much constantly through the second lockdown over Christmas and now in lockdown number 3, so they have become a crucial part of my stuck at home wardrobe, and I love them very much. I literally wear them all the time, to the extent that I'm having to make sure I wear other clothes so that my Instagram feed isn't just these dungarees, because I wear them pretty much every single day, probably 2 or 3 times a week at minimum. I love them, they're so comfortable, and I hope you enjoyed coming along and seeing the process of making these. I promise that my next sewing video is going to be slightly less chaotic, because like I say, I didn't originally plan on filming this process, so I started basically halfway through, which isn't ideal, I know. If you enjoyed that, I am on Instagram as Zoe's Story, as well as YouTube and TikTok. And if you want to support what I do, I have a Patreon. I'm kind of working through that. I've sorted the tiers out, and I also have a KoFi if you don't want to subscribe. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye! If I used the atlas as the world, I wouldn't have any torso. I would purely be butt.